The evening of the 22nd of May 2022, you're very welcome back to Realtor Education, not fake news. Here we're looking at finance and financial matters, and I made a few videos before there, and you'll see them. And this is on money management 45G Ponzi schemes. Now I've made videos on Ponzi schemes before, so there's no need to go over them again. You'll get them there. My father always said, God be good to him, they should get a medal. Bernard Madoff should have been made as a free man of New York City and given a medal for how he fooled so many astute investors out of $50 billion. He died in jail. My father always said, like, what do they not deserve this? I mean, these are smart people, and these very same type of people are there every day on the papers and on the internet, filling us full of baloney. Now, remember about Ponzi schemes and all that. You have on one side an investment which is a Ponzi scheme, a pyramid selling scheme, which has to come crashing down. It goes on for a while as long as there's enough fools to keep investing. Now, that's a pyramid selling scheme. On the other hand, you have sound investments, ones that are likely to be fairly good. So they are usually expensive. So if you invest in a cryptocurrency way back, some of them were only $200 for one Bitcoin or whatever they were, or Ethereum or whatever they were, stablecoin or whatever they were, and then they go way up. That doesn't look right, because that shows people think more of them. That's public opinion. By right, you'd think you'd invest in at 200 and the value would increase gradually. But I mean, there's fierce profits to be made. €1,000 paid for Bitcoin a while back would bring in unbelievable hundreds of thousands, and probably now maybe 200,000. I mean, it's unbelievable, but it's dropped a bit. And there's all these other things. Now, there is a want in the world for a state-free money transfer system. Now, the Bitcoin is used by criminals. I'm sure you know that, and by money launderers. And we had a well-known Dublin criminal who lived down in Cavan Monaghan border, who's dead now, who was alleged to be using it. And when the police raided them, they were trying to get the numbers, because the problem with the numbers, that once you lose the numbers, you lose everything. And a lot of people would have money in Bitcoin and die and other things, and Bitcoin keeps that. That's helping their value. That money never be reclaimed. And that means that unlike a bank that might have to look up relatives, no one knows about it. Now, the other thing, of course, it can be used for drug money, can be used to pay criminals, hitmen, killers, and all that sort of thing, which is terrible. But the state is very slow to take any action on that. I don't know whether they will or not. Now, I'm not just naming Bitcoin alone, but the fellow that invented Bitcoin can't be found. No one knows where he is. It's all to do with computer systems, and it's hugely expensive on energy. And remember, before I told you about buying the piece of land, or buying the house, or that, or hiding your money. You're faced with the problem of maintaining that piece of land or that house, and painting it and all that, and having tenants, and a lot of work. If you hide your money somewhere, you're faced with the problem of who do you tell about it, where is it hid, how secure is it, could you be attacked and made tell where it is, and all that. So there's grief with having wealth about the place. And with Bitcoin and with these currencies, there's also grief. One is the illegality that's around them. The other thing is the insecurity that the owner can do what he likes, effectively, and no regulation, right? There's two things. And the other one then is the other one is where you get the electricity. They use ferocious amounts of electricity. How long will they be given that electricity? These data centers where they're processed have banks and banks of Caterpillar diesel generators there. So there's no way of keeping any wealth without grief. There is no way. I know no way of keeping it without some problems. Now, generally speaking, if you get a high return and low risk, where you're guaranteed a risk-free return, that's a Ponzi scheme. The one in Cavan, it was promised 28% per half year, 56% a year, with guarantee, no risk. So that turned out to be a Ponzi scheme, and he was prosecuted for that. And I have always said that there is no such thing as a Ponzi scheme until the police force of the country get involved. So if you had a Ponzi scheme in Russia today and it involved all Western people, with the current situation, I'd say the police wouldn't investigate it. So until the police arrive in with a warrant and decide it is a Ponzi scheme, then it's not a Ponzi scheme, even though it is in reality, but it'll never be exposed. So remember, you only hear the ones that the police get dug into. You don't hear about the ones where they don't. So that's very important. So now the next thing is, so I said high risk, high return, low risk. That's probably a Ponzi scheme. Low return, low risk. That could be sound. You only get very little. If you buy shares in Kingspan or CRH or Diageo, you could be paying €58 a piece for them. They might go up €1 between now and next year. Your money's fairly safe, but you have to pay big amounts. You get very little back. And high return, high risk. Well, where you are guaranteed a high return, like 20%, and the risk is said to be very low, and it is low, you're still taking a gamble. If the risk is that you lose all, it's 50%, well then you're gambling. You're gambling 50-50. It's like a horse race. So that's where you get high return and high risk. You're effectively gambling at that stage. No, but that's slightly different to where it's a Ponzi scheme where there's absolutely nothing at all behind it. The man's going to run off with all. And very few people start Ponzi schemes deliberately. They always kind of evolve. They always kind of start off harmlessly enough, and then they get going, and then it's too late to do anything about it. Now, remember, there always were Ponzi schemes. Repeat that now, folks. There always were Ponzi schemes, back as far as anyone can remember. We don't have records of ancient Egypt and ancient Rome, but we do have all kinds of things like the tulip racket and all this stuff. There always were Ponzi schemes, and in the 20th century, there was Shanahan stamps, there was all kinds of things, there was Ponzi schemes. There was Ponzi schemes in Ireland, several. There was a program on the television there a while back, all over, people lost all. So essentially, when a person acquires money, or money's worth, particularly hard cash, there are a whole raft of agencies and people and criminals and sound people trying to get it. They're all trying to grab it. The bank gets it in, they immediately try to sell you shares in respect of it. They are immediately trying to convert it. And there are people always trying to get money like that, surplus money, gratuities and all that. At the moment, the wind farm companies had Minister, Richard Bruton on the radio, telling people to put their life savings or the little gratuities into community-based wind farms. There was one of them suggested for over near Westmeath, over at Castle Pollard, but luckily enough the local council had fought hard to stop that type of individual wind turbines, and they didn't get permission. But in other places they may get it. Now, in my figures, I have examined these and I've done videos on them. They can never pay back their money. They never ever see a halfpenny of their money. It's just a racket. That's my opinion. I'm open to debate it with anybody. But that is a type of a thing where you have a risk of getting nothing back and a lot going in. So again, it is a form of a Ponzi scheme. Now, what I'm leading up to here is that there always were Ponzi schemes, but what I'm saying is no Ponzi became no. Now, what if there's less of them now, and there does seem to be less? I don't see many Ponzi schemes coming to the fore at all in the last couple of years. And I suspect what has happened is the perpetrators have found cleverer ways of doing it. They've found smart ways of doing it. Why have a Ponzi scheme and be open to prosecution and be open to being caught and being on the telly and all that, when you don't even have to meet the people? With an ordinary Ponzi scheme, you have to tell the people, oh, I'll take your money and I'll give it back to you. And they know you probably. With this, you don't have to do anything. It's all done on a computer keyboard. And so if they became smarter, and I believe a lot of this renewable energy stuff is them becoming smarter. They've found a way to grab that money, because the business model of the wind turbines is always to build and sell as quick as you possibly can, to sell within a year, always sell within a year, because as Shakespeare said, a fool and his money are easy parted, and they get all these big companies to slob in the money into them, and away they go, leaving the whole community with the mess, and the whole environment with the mess, and the whole lot. Okay, so that's the deal, but there's other things as well. I'm not just all about that. So why not, in the present environment, with Kingsman, there has to be lorries, there has to be manufacturing, there has to be a factory, there has to be activity, there has to be all this. With CRH, they're producing concrete and they're producing all this, concrete blocks and all this. But with the cryptocurrency, there's nothing, only a keyboard and a heap of algorithms and all kinds of fancy stuff stuck in the middle of a computer that you wouldn't get it out no matter how you tried. That, to my notion, is bound to happen. And that would explain why we're not seeing real Ponzi schemes, because they've got cleverer. And there's no money out there for the real Ponzi scheme, or people got a bit more clever. But there is money if you can get them caught with cryptocurrency. You just start issuing your own money using the internet, which nobody understands, which the police wouldn't be able to understand. Is there a policeman anywhere who would understand what an algorithm is? In my course, I studied first normal form and something about computer. It is desperate stuff. I saw the book on C++ for a student. It's desperate stuff. Whether it's the real thing or not, I don't know. Some people are good at it, right? So here you remember, with the Ponzi scheme, you never know where your money's going when it's been going. With the wind turbines things and the community wind farms, you don't know how they work. You haven't any business model. You're not allowed to vote in if you're a shareholder, and there's all this. So it's based on trust. You trust them. Why should you trust them? What people do, and they're, I think, going to lose. Now with the Ponzi scheme, you haven't a clue. Oh, it's cryptocurrency, it's Bitcoin. I bought them. They're going up in value. What are they? In the end of the day, they're just a computer program. People do give them the money. They do have a way of securing that money. That money's there. I can't say they're going to run away with it or anything like that, but there's nothing behind hardly any of them that I can see. There is no gold, there's not even dollars or anything. And I think the stable coin and the Luna took a dive during the week. Again, people are putting the money in because people have money, people are retiring, they're getting gratuities, and they're desperate to get their money stuck in somewhere where they'll hope to make a return. And we know that happened in 2008, and people lost everything. So that's what I'm trying to say to you folks. What if they became smarter? That's the point here. What if the Ponzi scheme artists became smarter? And if you look what I've written, I'm sorry about the pink writing, but I'm only using it as a prop anyway. I mean, we're printing money in the governments all over the place, printing money at an unbelievable rate. So that type of clouds it. There's no collapse because they keep printing money for the COVID and the print money for Ukraine, and the print and print and print and the print everything they can. And so they devalue the currency, debase the currency. And with that, you see the Ponzi scheme or the crypto, all of them work better because there's no collapse. If there was a collapse, it'd cause people to think. Now then, I talked about green stock. I think most green stocks are going to fail. People are going to lose their shirt over anything green. Even the electric buses, they're pulling them all in Paris, pulling away all electric buses in Paris. Two of them are going on fire. So we look at the cryptocurrency, and there's no benchmark. So in a way, you put your money into cryptocurrency. That's one thing. We'll say it's 30,000 euros into a cryptocurrency. And you get that 30,000 euros. Another man has 30,000 euros, and he hides that money. He hides it up in the attic. The next thing is the rats come along, or the mice, and they eat it. It's gone. There's a fire. It's gone. He's robbed. It's gone. He dies. No one knows it's there. There's a risk to putting your money and keeping it yourself. There's a risk. He might hide it in the car. It could go on fire. But in a lot of cases, there's a shoebox under the bed and it's kept there, but it's eaten away by inflation. So there's no easy way of keeping your 50 euro notes, a big bail of them, no matter what you do. You can't let people know you have it. You'll be robbed if you do. There's no easy way of keeping that money. Okay, you put it in the bank, they're trying to swindle you out of it, they're trying to charge you interest on putting it in there. And that's a change in the last 10 years. On the other hand, you put it into a cryptocurrency, someone else is doing exactly that. Someone else is taking the exact risk you took. It's based on the fact that you have the money being stored in accounts. The banks are trying to get you away from ledgers and all that. They have it on internet. It's all stored on computers. That may be all right. I mean, the public pay computers, and the pay of many big companies is all done by computer. It's not that they're completely wrong that you can't have computers. All my cattle and my farming activities is all computerized, and I have to go online and do that. But I'm not really complaining about that. But the thing about it is that the cryptocurrencies are the same. So you can put in your 30,000, it goes in, it's where is it credited? What's done with it? Is it logged in a bank? Where is it? Is there any regulation? What country is it is? What happens if you try to log in someday and you can't log in? You can't log in. What do you do then? You can't log in. And nobody can log in. It's in the paper. Oh, Mickey Mouse coin has failed to log in. What do you do? Where do you go? Down to the Garda station? Where are they going to go? So I think it's a huge risk. It's a huge risk. And certainly the value goes up as more people goes into it. But there's no reason why 30,000 put in shouldn't roughly retain its value. Why should it go up to 60 and 70? What have they produced? What have they given? Have they given loans? Have they a loan facility? Have they a way of giving that young fella that comes in, I mentioned in the previous video, looking to build on a bit of land, giving him 3 million, have they any way of giving him that money? Have they any way of assessing him? It looks very, very strange to me. I have to say, it looks very, very strange to me that somebody has come up with a surefire, safe, profitable way to store wealth. Because there is none up to now. There is none. You can pay a London company to mine your gold, to protect your gold. Certainly you can. And they'll charge a handsome fee. In the United States, there is a lot of talk with people have gold and they're paying to get stored, that there are a lot more people who actually own that gold than know. So you might be given a certificate to say you own 6 ounces of gold in a bank or in a vault, and 4 other people might have the very same certificate. They have equal claims. There may not be a requirement to tell you. There could be 100 people owning 1 pound weight of gold, 16 ounces. 100 people, and you'd only think it was you. You'd only think it was you. Excuse me. You'd only think it was you. So how do you know that's honest? How do you know? The only way you know is if you have it in your hand, and then you're left with the problem of what do you do with it. And that's not easy solved, and I don't have the answer to that. We know that traditionally hoards have been hidden and found in fields. Hoards of gold in England have been found, and there have been hoards in Ireland found, and all over the world. And they reckon in the American West there's a lot of outlaw money hid in the American West. But the point about it is, it's a problem to store it. It's a problem to store it yourself. It's a problem to store it in shares or stocks or anything else. The risk of it being a Ponzi scheme is very great. And what protection have you with the crypto? How do you know that the person storing it has a better idea than you have? It's all reliant on electrical current flowing through little diodes and little resistors and different things here and there, stored in vast data centers, relying on huge amounts of fossil fuel electricity to stay operating. If the electricity goes off, they don't lose the data, but they can't process. If it goes off long enough, it could be a big problem. And these cryptos are taking a bit of a nosedive at the minute. Surely it would be lovely to have a currency that you could transfer all over the world without having to do all these things and have it. But that was what stablecoin was meant to do. I wish you all luck. Whatever you do, it'll not bother me too much. I'll use it to maybe change the van or buy something I want, and that if I have anything coming in, and invest it back in. I have several fields to be repaired and done up yet, and do up the old house and things like that. So there'll always be stuff to do like that in that. And at the end of the day, putting it into some property is probably the best, but it's hard work. So that's it, folks. I've dealt now with the cryptos and all that, and watch them tight. If you want to go into them, go ahead, but watch them tight. Something that goes from a few €100 up to I think crypto was at one stage something like 49,000 euros. I mean, that shows you there's something not quite right. There's people in a terrible way to pump all this printed money, and there are a lot of people who say the whole thing is about to come down. But I'm prophesizing that a long time, and I have to admit it hasn't happened. But if there was no printing money, it'd be down long ago. So what's going to happen, I do not know, except to remember what Shakespeare said: a fool and his money are easy parted. And I saw so many totally impoverished, virtually impoverished. I've seen a family who had to sell their home, their lovely home that they built. They had to get out of it because they had guaranteed it for a loan. They had to get out, and luckily enough, they had enough to buy a nice little council cottage just to tide them by. And if they hadn't done that, where would they be going? They'd be looking for they'd be on a caravan. These people had acres of land worth a lot of money, what millions of money, and it's all gone. That's the reality. I can't say no more. I hope you find it entertaining. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and we'll see you back for something else in a while. Thank you very much.